What if the moment you looked through your binoculars, someone was already looking back? What if they weren't just watching you? They were learning how to be you. I thought I was safe until I stopped looking. I moved into a new apartment about 8 months ago. 12th floor, corner unit, quiet place. No kids running around, no dogs barking, just the hum of the city way down below. It wasn't anything fancy, but it felt like mine. For the first time in a long time. I work from home, don't really go out much. I've always been more comfortable in my own space. Not lonely, just quieter this way. Most nights I'd sit in my chair by the window, read, scroll, sometimes just watch. There's a row of buildings across from mine. Nothing special. Brick, concrete, glass. But the thing is, people leave their windows open more than you'd think. Lights on, curtains half drawn, and sometimes they forget the world is still watching. It's not like I was spying. Not really. It started as background noise. Faces, little stories. Someone cooking dinner. Someone yelling on a phone. Once, a couple dancing in their kitchen. Just life happening, like static. I even bought a pair of binoculars, just for fun. I never looked too long, never zoomed in too close. It was like flipping through channels with no sound, and it made the nights feel less empty. Then, one evening, I noticed something. There's this old office building across the way. Ugly brown panels, dead most of the time. But that night, there was a light on, way up near the top floor. Just one window. It caught my eye because, well, no one ever used that part of the building. It's been empty for years. At least I thought it was. The window was open, so I picked up the binoculars, more out of curiosity than anything else. And I looked. I focused in, steady breath, slow hands, and there was someone there. He was standing right in the window, still, perfectly still, and he was already looking at me, through binoculars, pointed directly at mine. I flinched, like something cold touched the back of my neck. The image went shaky in my hands. I pulled the binoculars away like they burned. For a second, I just sat there staring at nothing. That was weird. Too weird. Maybe it was a reflection, a trick of the glass. Maybe he just happened to be looking out at the same time. Yeah, just a coincidence. A creepy one, sure. But that's all. I laughed to myself. One of those dry, nervous laughs that don't fix anything. 15, maybe 20 minutes passed. Curiosity got the better of me. Of course it did. I picked them up again, slowly, like I was doing something wrong. Focused, same window, same man, same exact pose. Binoculars, still pointed at me. He hadn't moved, at all. I squinted, trying to see more. His face, maybe. But the room behind him was dark. Too dark. No lamp, no backlight. Just a black shape standing in a square of light. I couldn't even tell what he was wearing. Just the way he stood. Straight, balanced, like he had all the time in the world. I stayed like that for a few seconds longer than I should have. Both of us staring. No movement, no blink. It didn't feel like watching anymore. It felt like eye contact. After that night, I told myself I wouldn't look again. But the next evening, around the same time, I found myself drifting back toward the window. Same chair, same hour, same quiet. At exactly 9:08, I checked the clock. I lifted the binoculars, and there he was. Already there, as if he hadn't left at all. Always in the same spot, framed perfectly in the window. Still just a silhouette. The room behind him, pitch black, like he was standing at the edge of a void. But there was something about his eyes, even through the distance. They felt wrong, bright, too bright, like they didn't belong to the rest of his face, like they didn't blink. I couldn't see any detail, not really, just that sharp shine. I remember one night, I raised my hand just to see a slow, hesitant wave, and he reacted, not a wave back. He adjusted his binoculars, just slightly, tilted them higher, closer, as if fine-tuning the image, like I was the picture he was trying to make sharper. That night I didn't sleep much. After that I started testing it, setting timers, avoiding the window until the last second, trying to catch him there. But every single time, when I lifted the binoculars, he was already watching, always the same pose, same stillness, same expressionless stare, even when it rained, even when the wind howled so hard it shook my windows. He was there, and I began to feel something shift. This wasn't just someone across the street anymore. I wasn't looking at him. He was looking into me. I needed proof, something to tell me I wasn't imagining this, that it wasn't some weird coincidence stretched over too many nights. So I set up my phone on a tripod. Angle was tricky, but I managed to position it behind the binoculars. Hit record, walked away. When I watched the footage back, the image was off. Worse than I expected. The man was there, of course he was, but his face wouldn't stay in focus. It wasn't the camera, it was something else. Like the image refused to resolve. It pulsed in and out, like a smudge, like heat rising off pavement. The more I tried to pause it, to zoom in, the worse it looked. But then something else caught my eye. His shirt. It was the same color as mine. Not similar, exact. Same neckline, same crease near the collarbone. I paused the footage, got up, walked to the mirror. Same shirt. I told myself that wasn't too strange. Coincidence. Everyone owns black t-shirts, but I kept going, pulled up recordings from previous nights. Low quality, grainy as hell, but the patterns were there. Each time the figure across the window, his clothes had changed, and each time they looked more like mine. Subtle at first, a sleeve rolled the same way, the same hoodie I wore when it got cold. Then I looked at the way he stood, the posture, the slight lean, the way he turned his head after a few seconds. Same rhythm I had when I watched him. There was even a moment in one of the clips where I scratched the back of my neck. And 3 seconds later, he did the same. I froze the video, stared at it. I wasn't sure which part scared me more, that he was copying me, or that maybe somehow I was copying him. A thought I couldn't shake whispered through me like static. Is he watching me or becoming me? One night I didn't look. I wanted to break the pattern, see what would happen if I just didn't engage. No binoculars, no peeking through the curtain. I turned off the lights, sat on the floor in the hallway, tried to read, tried to breathe, and for the first time in weeks, no eyes on me. But I didn't feel relief. I felt something else, something thicker, like the silence was watching instead. When I finally fell asleep, it was shallow, twitchy. I kept waking up, convinced someone was in the room. By morning, the sky was pale gray. The apartment was quiet. Too quiet. I walked to the balcony door to open it, get some air, and that's when I saw them. Fingerprints, 5 smudged, oily marks, right there on the inside of the glass, like someone had pressed their hand against it during the night. But it wasn't just that. On the floor, just beneath the doorframe, a small torn piece of paper, yellowed, wrinkled like it had been carried in a sweaty fist. I picked it up. 4 words written in thin, spidery handwriting. "You're late." My stomach turned. I checked the lock. It was still latched. No signs of entry. But the fingerprints, they were from the inside. I stood there for a long time, paper in hand, trying to rationalize. Maybe I touched the glass without noticing. Maybe the note got blown in through the crack under the door. Maybe. The next few days blurred. I kept hearing things. Faint creaks, the soft groan of floorboards that shouldn't groan. Once I swear I heard the sound of breathing. Not mine. Shallow, near the kitchen. Another night, a whisper. Just a breath of a word I couldn't catch, like someone was trying to speak through the walls. Every corner of the apartment felt occupied. Not noisy, but not empty either. He hadn't disappeared. He just stepped closer. That night I gave in. I told myself it would be the last time. One look, just to see. I needed to know if he was still there. I needed to know if I was still being watched. So I did what had become routine. Turned off the lights, closed the door behind me, sat in the chair by the window. The binoculars were already waiting, resting on the windowsill like they knew I'd come back. I hesitated, counted to 10, then picked them up. Focused, held my breath. The window was empty. No one. Just an open frame. Curtains barely moving. No silhouette. No eyes. Nothing. I blinked, pulled back, checked the angle. Looked again. Still nothing. For the first time in weeks, the space across from me was just a window. I kept staring, waiting for movement, for a shadow, for any sign of him. A minute passed, then another, and something inside me, something tight, started to ease. A part of me smiled, not out loud, not wide, but somewhere deep in the chest. Maybe he gave up. Maybe he got bored. Maybe I broke the loop. Maybe it's over. And I felt myself breathe for real. I lowered the binoculars, and that's when I saw him. He was standing on my balcony, not behind glass, not across the street, not holding binoculars, just standing there, a few feet away, close enough to hear me breathe, close enough to reach out and touch the glass. I froze, my hands still gripping the binoculars, halfway in my lap. My legs felt like they weren't mine anymore. He didn't move, didn't speak, just looked at me, the way you look at something you've been waiting for. His face, I still can't describe it. Not because I don't remember, but because it didn't feel like a face built for remembering. But I remember the smile, small, thin, not threatening, almost kind, like he was pleased, like he was proud of me, like he'd been waiting for me to stop looking. The air between us was thick, not heavy, not loud, just still. I wanted to scream, I didn't. I wanted to run, I didn't. I sat there, frozen, breathing through my teeth, and he stood there, watching. After a while, I don't know how long, I blinked, and he was gone. No sound, no footsteps, no shadow moving away. Just gone. But I didn't stand up, didn't move for hours. I just sat there in the dark, gripping cold binoculars in my lap, staring at the place where he'd been. And now, every night, I sit the same way. Lights off, curtains drawn, but I don't look through the window anymore. Because sometimes, when I catch my own reflection in the balcony glass behind me, there's a second shape standing just over my shoulder, not moving, not blinking, just waiting.